All right, that was a minute. So let's get started. Well, first of all, thank you everyone for being here today. We're excited about the topic that we're going to cover, and the timeliness with which we're going to cover it for the Army seems to be very relevant, and very timely. So we're excited for you all to be here, and thank you very much. With that, what we want to do to start with is just give a real brief introduction for the folks that you can expect to hear speak today. My name is Dan Coons. I'm the Senior Account Executive. I support the Army, or I'm a Senior Account Executive. I support the Army. I affectionately like to say that I've got the readiness vertical or the people vertical, plus USACE and a few other organizations to the Army. So I've been working across the Army for the last several years, and I also have the distinct pleasure of being a current reservist working with the 75th Innovation Command through Houston, and I support talent management there. So some of this stuff is near and dear to my heart. I'm very interested in it. And if there's any questions or comments or concerns or anything that you guys want to follow up with, my email address is listed here, and I can be the primary point of contact to get the information where it needs to go. With that, I'm going to let Casey introduce himself, and then Jock, and then Mike, and then we can go from there.
All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Casey Johnson. I'm a solution consultant at Servicenow, also supporting the Army. I go hand in hand with Dan together. Go hand in hand. Oh, dear. Yeah, and I've been doing App Engine implementations the last 5 years across the federal government on the SI side, and now I've moved over to help Servicenow and the Army. And I'll pass it over to Jacques.
Hi, I'm Jacques Idry, and I'm the solution specialist that covers App Engine. App Engine is essentially our no-code, low-code solution set that allows our customers to take advantage of building purpose-built apps for on our platform for any sort of use case. Almost anything can be done on our platform. So that's kind of my focus, and I'll pass it on to Michael, who supports me from the technical perspective.
Yeah, hi, my name is Michael Slobodnik. So I'm a solution consultant, much like Casey, except I focus on the App Engine, what we can do with ServiceNow. And realistically, myself included, we've had customers building apps on ServiceNow from way back, even prior to Aspen as well. And so it's really exciting to see this as a maturing product on the platform. I've been with a customer, I've been with partners, done tons of implementations, and this is, to me, the best part of ServiceNow.
Thanks. So the agenda for our conversation today is going to be as follows. The ServiceNow Army Tech Talk series, we're going to just send a reminder out there that this is an ongoing series of discussions that goes through October. Then we're going to discuss the Now Platform App Engine, the fastest way to workflow, how we enable digital transformation, demonstration, then a Q&A at the end. That's our agenda. It should take us about 45 minutes or so, maybe an hour. Casey, you want to move forward? So reminder, this is our Tech Talk series. This is every Thursday through October. We've got a series of dialogues, and the purpose of the dialogues and the intention behind it was that we were going to talk about how we can help the Army move from an industrial to a digital enterprise, aligned with modernization priorities and the other efforts that have to go within the organization. So we'll have conversations about talent management. We'll have conversations about core information infrastructure. We'll have conversations about workflow, which this conversation is about, and it's all oriented to building the digital enterprise that supports the soldier and the civilian. And so the links are here, and please sign up if you haven't already for the ongoing series. Go ahead, Casey. So this is one of my favorite topics to talk about, and I can pontificate for quite a while. But the way we start, we want to start is, why are we here today? A ServiceNow and Army modernization. And recently, over the last several months, the Army's announced that they're going to be developing a software factory, software lab out of Austin, Texas. That aligns with General Murray's quotes and his thinking, and some of the other stakeholders that are involved, that the capability to deliver software at the lowest technical levels will help us provide better software products. And when I think about that, and I distill what that means down to Army enterprise, it means to me that if you're thinking about a workflow or a process that people have, how do we get the mundane routine tasks that we all have to do and distill that down into a modern automated way to free us more time to train and execute mission. The purpose and why we're here today is we don't want to be doing mundane routine tasks that should be automated out of the enterprise. We want to create automated workflows that impact the enterprise that can do three things: long-term cost savings, increase competitive advantage, and deliver capabilities at mission speed, which will also enable us to focus more on the mission. And to do that, we have to revolutionize the way we build applications and the way that we deploy software. I think we are uniquely positioned to be able to help the Army enterprise, and that's the purpose of our discussion today. So, Casey, if you want to move forward one more.
Yeah, so this is Jacques. I put this slide in here. This was a study that was done by the Defense Innovation Unit. They published it in the spring of last year. And I don't think this is a surprise to most people on the call. I mean, these seem to be the challenges that the Army is addressing. And I think the Army is kind of leading forward with the charge on adopting modern digital platforms that can help them fix some of the issues around cross-functional cross-functional capabilities that fix the siloed large enterprise environments that they've got out there. And the other thing really here, the key thing is that driving SecOps into every phase of the development effort is key. And our platform is really well designed to do this stuff. And it's a matter of speed. I mean, I think right now the differentiator for the Army is how quickly can they put capability out there to support the mission and the business. And this is all part of a massive change, not only in the technology, but also in the culture and the way of thinking. So we are supporting initiatives around this and really feel that we're positioned well to help the Army. Next slide. So this is where we are within federal and DoD and the IC. I mean, we have a strong position within the DoD and within the Army. I think the Army's led the effort to adopt enterprise efforts on ServiceNow. And the great fact here is that the platform is in place. We are IL4 accredited in our government cloud, moving forward with IL5. But we currently have hosted options for IL6 and IL5 as well. So we are an accredited platform that's trusted, that's in the environment, and extending some of the solution sets that the Army is already using by leveraging our App Engine, which essentially allows you to automate a lot of the workflows, the heavy, manual email and spreadsheet processes that are dealt with on a day-to-day basis are perfect targets for using our platform to automate and essentially help with that modernization effort. And this is not an effort that's it's a one-time initiative. I mean, this is something that's continuous. I mean, it's our platform's great at building capabilities quickly, small problems that you can address, and then over time, as you do continuous development of these applications, you're actually fixing some of the larger enterprise issues. So it's an evolution, and really kind of the modern approach. The other key point that I want to make here is that we're constantly innovating. We're adding 2 upgrades per year. So all of these customers that are in our government cloud are taking advantage of that. It's future-proof. In a sense, we're adding, a bunch of rich services within the platform that allow you to focus on the application and the mission, and not so much on, having to upgrade technologies below.
I think that's really important, Jack, and thank you for bringing that up. It's not necessarily that I don't think you're ever future-proof. I think what you can do and what we can do is provide a foundation for you to predict an unpredictable future, or at least write to an unpredictable future. And that's really the unique advantage of us continuing to invest in our platform and then be able to drive workflow from there. So I think it's a really important point for everybody here. Go ahead.
Casey, next slide. I'll hand it over to you.
Oh, okay, great. Yeah, thanks, Jacques. Right. So a lot of people know ServiceNow just as the help desk, and we're here today talking about App Engine, right? And so what does that mean? What does that mean? We're integrating the enterprise on a cloud-based digital platform. So to bring some kind of visual to what Jacques was talking about, this is kind of the challenges, right? Not that only the Army faces, but many agencies, right? So we have siloed systems that don't necessarily talk to one another. We have many different kinds of users, right? We have, kind of the kind of users on the edge. There's a lot of talk about empowering the edge, making the users that are actually doing the work have the ability to do what they need to do to serve the mission, and then all the way up, to reporting for the officers, management, et cetera, across all of the different silos. So yes, help desk is our most popular product, but really what ServiceNow does is abstract away the underlying complexity of all these systems, and it kind of sits right on top. So it becomes your system of engagement and your system of action. So if you think about the help desk is really your place where it's a ticketing system. It's a place where you go, where you want to submit a ticket, you want to make a change, and you want to track that change over time and see action taken. So if you kind of abstract that away and think about, what you're doing with basically any information that's coming out of any of these systems, it can be SAP, it can be Oracle, it can be PeopleSoft. What do you do with that information? You have to put it in a workflow, right? You have to take that piece of information, take action on it, and then track it through, just like a ticketing. And that's really where App Engine comes in. So what I want to talk about here is how App Engine works as kind of the way to empower your citizen developers, to empower that edge so that people who are, because it's a no code, low code solution, right? So we have on here the platform of platforms in the middle. This is how you access it, right? Which is through mobile, through the web. It integrates with all of your chat tools. And then it sits on top of all of your systems down here. So when you think about it, App Engine is just a way to build apps. In fact, the apps that we sell, like our IT solution, our help desk, ITSM, it's an app, right? We built it on App Engine. So what do you get? Like, why would we build something on App Engine on ServiceNow when you can also build apps in AWS or Azure, or Salesforce or a different app? And the answer is really, number one, it's the platform of action. Number two, it's really fast. So think about building something on AWS and Azure. You're going to have to set up a database. That database is going to have ports open. You're going to have to run security scans on it. Then you're going to have a server that talks to that database. It's going to have to be inspected before it can have the authority to operate. It has to go through all these things that really just slow you down. When the ServiceNow platform itself is ATO'd, you don't have access to the database, right? You don't have access to the application servers. You are just using the platform in a no-code, low-code fashion. So you build the app, you test it, you deploy it. That's it. It's really fast. It really takes development time down, from weeks and months to even days. It's super fast. So that's not to say that all apps should be built here. There are certainly apps, solutions that warrant building, some custom complicated solution on AWS, but it's really easy to build apps here, and it solves 90% of the problem. If you think about what the government is doing, right? We're most of the time, taking something that was a paper form and it goes through a workflow in an office, and now it's really just a paper form and it's going through a workflow digitally, right, to help things move faster along. And everything that we do here is, and you're going to get to see it, so I don't want to talk too much about it because the demo will really show you exactly what it is. But you can build, apps as simple as something like, hey, we have, this form to request, heightened security, or hey, we need a form to get a parking spot at a government building. Those are simple apps. Build them really fast, and they can be built by Army, Army folks. Like, doesn't have to be a service company, right? That's going to come in and build something for you. And all of that, think about what is already here. What do we already know? When the platform's installed, you already get single sign-on. We already are integrated with Active Directory. We probably know what office you're in. So when you go to take action in that workflow, we have a whole lot of information already that you don't have to build into it, that you would have to build into it, like from the start down here in AWS. All right, so we're going to build an app. So what do we want the app to have, right? I think this is pretty clear for everybody. We want to have a good experience. It needs to have some process automation. We need to integrate probably with some other systems. We're going to talk about that in a second. And then some data visualization reporting, right? Basic things. All right, so let's talk about some of the things that are highlights. And again, you're going to get to see these in the demo, so I don't want to spend too much time on them. But so we have, it's easy to create a case. To work that case, you basically use Flow Designer to kind of drag and drop what you want it to do. Basically, it's a bunch of, it looks like a graph, right? It's a bunch of if-then statements to break up how you want the workflow to go. Then we need to integrate with stuff. So we have something called Integration Hub, which is quick and easy. We're going to talk about that. And of course, security. And then once you have
Casey, and just to add a little bit more to that, and we kind of work together. We work together to create these slides, and there's generally a flow to these things. But each of these 4 component highlights can probably be differentiated from other places that have platform. And we've come from a lot of different worlds where we talk about a lot of different platforms, and a lot of the differentiation comes from the different highlights. So I wanted to make sure that we reinforce that each of these areas is a distinct capability that's interesting from us, and we welcome a dialogue with anybody that wants to have that conversation later. But I think they're really important to continue to focus on. So sorry to cut you off, Casey, but I wanted to make sure that was emphasized.
I am used to you cutting me off. It's okay, Dave.
Sorry, Casey.
No, it's that's good. Thank you for that perspective. And then on top of that, you're right. Another differentiator is really AI and machine learning. We have it built into the platform. So if you have an app and you have data in that app, we have unsupervised and supervised AI algorithms that you can apply to that. So it's really easy. And again, there are full-blown AI solutions, totally valid. But a lot of the time, 80% of the time, you can just put it in your app real quick. Don't need to go through the whole rigmarole. All right, so let's talk about Integration Hub before I pass it back to Jacques here. So Integration Hub, think of it like, yes, sure, everybody can have an API and you can connect. And again, you got to go through security, and it gets hard, and there's firewalls. There are always firewalls. And think of Integration Hub as just like when you're installing software on your computer and it's like next, finish. That's what Integration Hub is. So you want to hook up ServiceNow to DocuSign for digital signatures, or to Splunk for shooting over your logs. It's pretty much next, finish. And we have a whole library of, they're called spokes. Each one of these is a spoke, an Integration Hub spoke. And we just continue to add to it every release. And if there is no spoke for something you want to connect to, that's not where it ends there. Then we also have a full table dedicated just to RESTful integrations and APIs that you can do. It's a little more manual. It's not the next finish, but it doesn't mean that you can't integrate with everything. And that's really how ServiceNow is so good at it. We end up kind of being the platform of platforms and end up talking to everybody, all the technologies. Right, so talking about analytics real quick. So I just talked about, hey, we have AI and ML, we have integrations. So there's also, since it is so easy to have data and be able to play with that data, a lot of times there is a centralized, at an agency, there's a centralized reporting engine. So data gets pumped in, you get Tableau or something alike. But a lot of times, if you're just that user of that app, you just want some reports and dashboards, right? And so ServiceNow has that built in. So we have kind of a basic version, and then we have another version called Performance Analytics, which will really help you see what's happening with your data in a predictive way, and then again allow you to take action on that data. It can even automatically alert you when it thinks something's wrong based on the data, and you can see it in the report. And it's really powerful, right? So you're not always just looking at spreadsheets of data. You have to be able to see it. And I wanted to show you what that looks like. So here, this is the ServiceNow out-of-the-box UI. Some people call it native UI. And you can kind of see we have tab. This is multiple dashboards that are tabs. So you click on this, and it would change. And I think Michael will be able to show something like this when we do the demo in a bit. But we can see trends over time. And it's interactive, so you can click on this bar and it will bring you to the data so you can see what's going on with it, right? So just to say, again, it's really easy, it's really fast, it's drag and drop, and it has reporting built in. All right, so with that, I'm going to let Jacques take control.
Okay. All right, so I'm going to share a use case that we've actually built recently. One that I'm sure most of the people on the call are familiar with. It's the DD2875, or the System Authorization Access Request. SAR form is a painful process for the DoD, Army as well. Many times it's manual, email based. Forms have to be moved around, and we recently built this demo to show to some of our Army customers around the automation of the process. And again, it's a process that we built on the platform quickly. This demo itself is not a full production ready application, but in a matter of days we were able to pull this automation together and use it for demo purposes. So this is a typical workflow for a SAR. We kind of take the standard process with the SAR form and automate a lot of the things behind it. Obviously goes through the supervisor for the initial approval, and then through additional approvals of the system owners and other folks in the process, and we can spawn tasks around the user account creation and those kind of things into the system before we complete the SAR request. So Dan here is a new employee, has to have access to Army GFEBs, and so he can go into our portal, and what he'll do is he'll look up the SAR request app and select that, and actually he gets a form. And these are adaptive forms. You can use them on mobile devices. They're smart forms where you can actually automate the filling of some of the fields with the information that you have currently within that database, or even within other systems if needed. But essentially, these smart forms have a TurboTax feel where you're essentially viewing the relevant information that you have to fill out. So once Dan submits the form, there's an automation that occurs. So his supervisor automatically gets notified of the new request for GFEBs access. And so the supervisor, Janine, is actually not in the office, and can actually get a notification via her mobile device. This approval request shows low priority, so she can go in and see the details around that. She can actually approve the request via her phone, and submit any relevant information for the justification. Or she can get back into the office, take a look at the dashboard for all the different SAR requests that are outstanding, drill into those SAR requests, and actually look at the ones that she needs to complete. And she sees Dan's request, so she can select that and actually fill out the justification and send it off to the next approver and the next transaction. So essentially that workflow is going through, gets approved, and a form gets created, a DD2875 gets created as a PDF. So you can see it here in that format. An email notification goes to Dan Reinhardt, and here we're showing DocuSign, but you could use other e-sign solutions. So he gets the ability here to review the document, sign the form, and then finish. Essentially, that shows you how efficient a process like the SAR form can be. So what we do is we're actually saving weeks and sometimes months with that process, and that's a huge cost savings to the Army. Those involved know that the SAR form, essentially, until it's completed and approved, those users that are waiting for that approval are essentially not able to complete any tasks. And even when contracts transition from an incumbent to a new contractor, all the individuals that may still be there that have transitioned to the new contract still have to go through the process. So you're looking at significant cost savings to just automating this one process for the Army. It's definitely the new approach that the Army wants to take. And I'm going to hand it over to Michael here. This is a really great concept that he's going to talk about. It's not only about agility, speed, and improving productivity, but the concept of a citizen developer that we've had within our world since the beginning, since the inception of the platform back in 2004. Our founder really had the vision of allowing users outside of IT to automate workflows. So I'll let Michael take over from here.
Just gonna make sure. Yeah, thanks, Jacques. Just had to make sure that I was unmuted. And as Jacques was saying, our founder had the idea of, how do we make it easier to go ahead and build applications? And the history of IT and applications that we've had available have always, for the longest time, had the traditional stack where if you want to deploy an application, you have to set up the server, database server, app server. And that includes putting in all the security around it, as well as hooking up all the maybe REST APIs. And it just took months and years in some cases, depending upon the complexity. Now that's gotten better with things like the infrastructure as a service, where I could go to Amazon Web and just spin up a server, for example. But things are still kind of disconnected in the sense of you still have to go and spin up that server, and you still have to go spin up that database and then connect them together. And so where ServiceNow has been really successful, and this has been successful, I want to say, since probably, let's see, we were formed and started in 2004. I think we've actually probably been doing this since at least 2006, 2007 with how successful our customers have been. But the idea with it is, what if there's a way to have all the underlying infrastructure components in there, and there is a no-low-code platform that all sits on top of it. So that way, instead of development taking months or years, it can go down to maybe weeks or even just days. And we've started to see that over the past few months with COVID. State of Washington was a great example. They actually built the COVID app response within, I think, a couple of weekends or something, which ultimately they released to everybody, and that's the application we shared with a lot of our customers and even non-customers. And so it's all about being able to have agility to our application development. Less focus on the underlying infrastructure, more focus on what needs to be built to get the value out of it. And really, when we start to look at what we've had traditionally, like I said, there's been those professional IT developers. But the way that we've really started to see that future is to have the idea of, yes, the professional developers are still going to be there. They're skilled people who are never going to go away. But also there are people who could be business relationship managers or analysts, people who are not classically trained developers. However, they know a lot of the processes that need to take place in a lot of the workflows. So instead of having to have this translation between the analysts and developers, why not give some of the power to the analysts directly? They know the workflows, they can build those components themselves. And also we look at being able to have developers not only within IT, but outside, what we call the citizen or civilian developers. And so that can exist in any enterprise as well as the Army, for example. But the biggest thing about it is we're not trying to segregate out these groups from each other. We're really trying to make more of a community. And so there's going to be cases and application type of cases where, a low-code developer or civilian developer can quickly build the framework with the data and the workflow, but the professional IT developer may still need to put in that extra 5 or 10% of coding somewhere. And so that's really the power part about ServiceNow itself, because we have the no-low-code platform, and it's been maturing rapidly over the past few years. But then we also still have access to what we consider the pro code part of ServiceNow. So things like our service portal, which is essentially a almost open web framework, allows you to build experiences and applications that are beyond the no-low-code piece of it as well. And so it's getting these different type of demographics working together, so that way we can take the best of everyone's knowledge and skills to develop these applications, no matter if they're simple or if they're complicated. And it all goes about to, let's just get that faster delivery. Let's go ahead and have things like a visual workflow with a no natural language, no code aspect to it. Why? because I don't know about, the people on this call, but whenever I've coded before, and I can remember even doing Fortran, which is kind of embarrassing in some cases. But the most of the time I spent with building an application was troubleshooting. And the majority of the time that troubleshooting came from because I had typos somewhere or formats or syntax was incorrect. So the no-low code aspects of a platform help to reduce that time in typing, help to reduce those errors, and essentially gives the confidence that what you're building in that workflow is what's going to be taking place. Also, the other big part about ServiceNow is a lot of the reusable components, pre-built components that we have out of box, which are one of those things we're always constantly growing. Also, it could be pre-built components or applications provided by third parties, and that could be a community party. It could be a partner, a technology partner that built an application and released it for purchase. But the biggest thing about it is ServiceNow is designed to have reusable pieces of code. And we're going to get into that when we start to demo building an application. Because one of the key things about it is that, and Jacques mentioned this already, we upgrade the platform about twice a year. But the way that we architected the reusable components means that when you start building an application, your application is essentially sandboxed from the rest of the ServiceNow code, meaning it's not going to be touched on upgrades. Yes, there's always a potential from some challenge with an upgrade, but what we found is that the customers that stay within the best practices, stay within the using the standard APIs that we have available, they have almost no type of problems upgrading whatsoever. And so ultimately, what we really are trying to do is get those apps out there quickly. The faster an application can get out there, the faster it can have value. And that is really the critical piece to it. Like I said before, state of Washington, when COVID hit, they had to figure out a way to get their help their citizens. They went to the ServiceNow platform and built an application quickly. We've engaged with a lot of various groups within the DoD as well, and it's the same thing. How can we quickly get these applications out there, as well as maintaining a modern user experience, and that can include mobile or just a modern web UI. But then another key to really focus on the ServiceNow platform is it's always maturing, and we're always looking for being able to take advantage of those newer trends that we have out there. And intelligence is a big one. ServiceNow over the past few years we've purchased companies themselves that have focused on natural language, for example, machine learning, and we repurposed them, rebuilt them into the ServiceNow platform. In fact, that's a pattern and a habit and culture of our company. So that way, when we have a new product or capability that came from either A, an acquisition, or B, something we created and released, it is already part of the platform. And so there's no convoluted integration or having to get pieces cobbled together to get it to work. Majority of the time, it's either being able to make the purchase through subscription, and then we can enable that capability, and you have it. And that includes taking advantage of the machine learning of being able to build analytics on top of the data that's already there. So, with that being said, I know we've done a lot of talking, a lot of PowerPoint. I want to switch over to the ServiceNow platform and really start to just highlight, hey, how can we build this application in the platform? So enough with the PowerPoint aspect. And here I am with my wonderful ServiceNow environment. Of course, we have dashboards like a lot of other technologies have as well. But the thing about it is these dashboards are all going to be either they can be personalized, or anything that we build with an application can go ahead and have various capabilities that we already have for our current products. In this case, we also have a kind of an integrated developer environment as well, or IDE. One of the things about ServiceNow is we really focus on trying to keep everything as easy as possible. So kind of true cloud or true SaaS type of model. That includes building applications. Everything is built within your web browser in ServiceNow. So you don't need to install Visual Code or have NetBeans or anything like that. It is all within the platform. Now, that being said, we do have a lot of customers that are professional coders, and they love their things like Visual Studio. And so we've been growing to connect in some of those IDs to connect into the ServiceNow environment. So those coders that are comfortable with those IDs can take advantage of them as well. But with the studio, this is where we go through and start building our applications. And so we can create a whole application from scratch. And it's all about being able to build this as quickly and easy as possible. And so you notice we're going through and we're getting the opportunity to have that friendly user experience to start this application. Now, it's not going to probably do 100% of the application. It may not even do, 50% of the application, but it's going to get the base components in place, such as the data, maybe mobile if we're going to use mobile, the forms, the pages, things that we're going to have for a REST API, for example. And it's all going to be there as those base components. So this is less work I'm having to do to build these applications. One of the use cases that we've talked about internally in the account team is just, what about Army personnel that get transferred to new bases? Happens every few years, maybe even more for some people. And there's that question of, well, what happens when they transfer? How does it impact their families? What about their children? So we've been talking about that as a use case for ServiceNow. How do we help manage that? And one of the app ideas that I had was, well, what if we had a welcome home application where when somebody went through a transfer, they're able to either, hey, submit something, or maybe something gets submitted on their behalf. And then we're able to invoke the workflow, as well as being able to take advantage of ServiceNow's integration hub to maybe call out to various APIs to go ahead and provide services for that family itself. And so in this case, I've got my application, it's kicking off. We are a role-based, security conscious software, so every application can have its roles. And the great thing about that, and keeping this in mind, is you have this entire platform with a whole layer of security, but we also have, each application has its own roles and securities. And so maybe somebody should be able to see this application, be it in their mobile browser or through a portal, while others should not be able to. And security can go as specific as the field level of data as well. So we can be very specific on the security aspect of it. And then we're able to, once again, everything's on the same platform, multiple applications can share data, security can be applied with it as well. So if someone doesn't have the security access, they simply don't see the data. And it's all built within that single layer of the platform. So me as a developer, I'm not worried about if Joe Smith over there has access to ServiceNow. If his unit already has access to it, then I've just got to build the application, give him the role, and then boom, he's ready to go. And with it, I can also choose different experiences as well. So we have a mobile experience with native mobile. We also have our classic experience with regular forms as well as lists, similar to maybe working with Excel. The thing about ServiceNow is where we really fit in with a lot of the power is the idea of form-based workflows, where information is coming in from someplace, there's going to be people doing tasks and finishing work, and then there's going to be an output with it as well. And so, a lot of people don't necessarily like the whole form concept, especially having to do things by hand. It amazes me. I still had to do a bunch of that. I recently moved, my kids went to a new school, and we're filling out all this paperwork. And I'm thinking, man, why don't they just have it? They already have my address because I told them, why can't they pre-fill some of this stuff? And, that's one of the powerful things about ServiceNow. We can leverage data and get out of people having to fill out forms and, have the digital experience. In this case, I'm able to create a new table. And one of the other powerful things about ServiceNow, it was designed with the idea of having to do tasks. So people getting work, in the case of our founder, he always said he wanted to give a way for people to build meaningless applications to route work through an enterprise. And so the core of the platform is this basic table called task. And the task table has a lot of information, such as maybe something be assigned to somebody, maybe certain due dates, short descriptions, a lot of data that can be very common for task-based type of workflows. Because of that, as I'm building this application, I don't want to have to spend all this time of recreating new tables and new fields. It doesn't make sense to do that. So instead, what I'm going to go ahead and do is do what we call an extension, meaning I'm going to reuse some components of this task, put it into a new table, and now I've got this new data element for my application, but I'm not having to recreate a whole bunch of stuff. Everything's there. I can add in a new field if I want, but I can start with a basic set of information, so I'm not sitting there in a database saying, okay, create a new field, here's the field type, okay, it's this, new field type, so on and so forth. We're now being able to speed up the delivery of this application. So we can call this welcome home request. I want to auto number this as well, so I can go ahead and just kind of keep track of it. And now ServiceNow itself is creating that table, setting everything up for me. But more importantly, it's also doing a lot of backend work. It's going to the database table, creating the table, setting up all those fields for me. But it's also going and saying, hey, we're creating a REST API. So if we want to have integrations, it's going to be readily available. Now, I've got my table set up for this app. Of course, you can see here I can put in more, but I'm done. Now I want to go ahead and start building my application itself. And so I included a mobile experience with the idea of, hey, this could be something where maybe people are doing tasks through a mobile application, or maybe we're pulling information mobile. Maybe we're asking the personnel out there, what's their favorite pizza place, getting information back. And so we're able to go ahead and start that mobile experience that's being built. And the great thing about this is part of a native mobile application. So we have a native application that's able to take advantage of all the things like barcode readers and GPS and cameras as part of the experience. And so one of the things that we've really looked at as a company for the past couple of years is not so much being worried about back-end workflow, but being focused on the user experience. And that's something that our previous CEO, John Donahoe, was phenomenal about pushing. He loved the experience. He wanted things to be easy. And as a platform, we've matured to start to use that as well. And so all these components are designed to give a meaningful user experience, because realistically, if it's not a good experience, if it's horrible to use, if it's clunky, are people really going to be using it? Or if they're using it, is it really making life better for them? In this case, I have my classic application with my basic lists and forms. I'm all done now. I'm all done. I'm not going to set up any other application. I can set up some of my logic, but I'm going to go ahead and do that in a bit here. And now I've got the base component of my application itself. And so now when it comes to the application, I've got my mobile piece to it. I've got my desktop piece to it. Like, here we go, mobile's already set up. Now there's not a lot to it. I haven't really built more out of it, but I can create a new request already. And this is just from, 5-10 minutes of starting my application. But that being said, now we want to go ahead and, how do we modify some of this as well? And so in the studio, it shows everything that we have that makes up this application. Everything's connected. I can put this to a Git repository, or I can export it to go to another ServiceNow environment. It is all, for lack of a better phrase, kind of sandboxed with all the files together. That means when there's an upgrade, this isn't going to be touched at all. It's custom. It's, as a customer, it's yours. We don't want to mess with it. But in this case, I've got my database table, and now it comes to, well, what do I want in this form? Like I said before, it's a form-based workflow. And that's where we can go through and start to take advantage of our form designer. So it's not just no code in that. In the beginning part, it actually is no code in several other pieces of the platform. And that can include, okay, we've got our form here. Maybe we don't want too much about a full description. We're not going to worry about a parent. Maybe we'll do a state. I'm not going to worry about a configuration item. That's more of an IT type of thing. We don't need it for this. But more importantly, if I want to go through and add in a field, maybe one that's already existing, like location, we can add that as well. Or if I want to add in a field and create just a whole new field, I can do that from here as well without really the need, to go through and I have a lot of overhead with it. So in this case, maybe I want to go through and put in a new choice. Maybe I want to be able to put information to figure out, okay, what's their housing type? And in it, I can say, well, I've got a choice. Maybe it's house, maybe it's apartment, maybe it's a duplex. This way I can collect information about maybe when the personnel gets to their housing, what kind of location they have. And then I can always choose maybe a default, maybe I'll just start with house. And I can save this. Now, all I did was add a field to my form and drag it over and put in a few options. But what you didn't see is ServiceNow, once again, went to the database, created the field. It went and set up the REST API. It did all the work for me, so I don't have to mess with it at all. And once again, it's all about the speed of design. So now that I've got my form in place, what about, what am I doing maybe for some of the workflow? And so once again, this comes into a lot of the power of ServiceNow. And so we can create a new part of our application, and we've got something called Flow Designer. So we're going to go ahead and create a new flow, and flows are really those things that are there to go ahead and just kick off and manage all the workflow with it. We can create multiple subflows, so we can have one flow calling a lot of subflows to it. We can create custom steps within the flow. There's a lot of flexibility in what we can do here as well. And so I have my my flow here, welcome home process. So maybe I'm doing a lot of information here. And now I've got it very simple to say, well, what's my trigger going to be? Is it going to be when it's created? Is it going to be when it's updated? Or more importantly, maybe this is going to be something that's going to be scheduled. Maybe it will go daily, weekly, repeating multiple times. So everything we want to build in an application, be it if it's a trigger from the database, or maybe it's a scheduled job, we've got all of the control here in our Flow Designer. In fact, one of the biggest parts that ServiceNow has really been helping customers, and this has been for several years, is just on simple email, getting rid of email. We can even do a trigger where an email comes into the system and then ServiceNow takes it and then does something with it through the Flow Designer. And the Flow Designer is incredibly powerful because all of the data related to the record itself, we have access to use, but it's simply just easy. It's designed for no low code. I can say, hey, I want to run this when it's a welcome home. And maybe I want to do something where it's only going to be for an apartment. I can select that. I can use these conditions. And I can create multiple conditions as well. And I can also create multiple flows with properties to say run every flow or maybe just one flow. It's all about the flexibility based upon what you need this for. And this workflow that I have is a basic use case of, well, someone's transferring, we want to welcome them home. But in reality, this can be as simple as that, or it can be as complicated as like that SAR use case that Jacques showed as well. But anyway, when it comes to this, maybe we want to take advantage of, starting with sending out a notification, sending out an email. So maybe we go ahead and we want to send an email. We want to send an email to the person who this is going to be for. In fact, I think one of the things I forgot to put was the requester or the requested for. So I'll just do this as maybe the, I'll just do this as the created by. I'll just do this as the assigned to. That'll be easier. And I've got access to all of my data in this flow as well. And so here I am creating an email, but I can go through and say, well, I want to put in some names to this email. And so I can say, let's welcome home to, where's my assigned to, for example, and maybe I do the first name. And here we go. So now that email will go out and say, hey, welcome home, Michael, welcome home, John. Any data we have related to this flow, we can go ahead and put into it as well. And if you notice, I'm not coding anything. The other thing that was talked about as well was Integration Hub. ServiceNow being the center of workflow for multiple technologies as well. And we have a lot of out-of-box spokes. As Casey said, spokes are kind of what I say our logical unit of ways that we talk to other systems. And Integration Hub is an integral part of this Flow Designer as well. So if I go under our actions, this is where we see all our spokes. We have things like Slack, Microsoft Active Directory. So maybe we're doing password resets, or maybe we were rolling out software through SCCM. But more importantly, if we do have any type of spoke that's available that we want to take advantage of, we can search for it here, and it'll tell you if you have it or not. And then it'll direct you where you can go ahead and acquire it as well. But more importantly, we've got the ability to create custom spokes. And so one of the things that I did was being able to order food, I think for an API they had set up. I created my own custom API. It's the case where I maybe want to order food for the person here. And I want to go through and say, well, it's going to be the person assigned to and maybe their location.
Hey, Michael, I'm going to throw a curve at you. So there's a program called the Exceptional Family Member Program that essentially tracks the needs for special needs kids in military families. That system tends to not be accessed when these PCSs occur, and there tends to be a problem with that. I'm assuming we can, integrate into that, query it, make sure that the services that are provided at the base that these families are PCSing to, could essentially provide the services needed for that individual.
Absolutely. When ServiceNow was originally built and architected back in 2004, it was done under the idea that it would not be an island in technology. And so we've got ways to integrate with other technologies through REST, other web services, XML, connecting to a database directly. And we have a lot of customers that do something similar, not so much of the use case, but more along the lines of their hooking into another environment and then maybe kicking off workflow based on that. And so I've already set up a basic flow, sending email, ordering food. It's also important to point out that we've got a lot of other capabilities, like maybe we have some logic. So we want to do an if statement, and maybe if the person's from Ohio, for example, we want to do a simple condition to say, you know what, if maybe their state is Ohio. I just moved from Ohio, so it's on my mind these days. I want to go ahead and do maybe some condition with it, and maybe I'll go ahead and modify this a little bit to then maybe order the food there where I'm ordering a pizza. A lot of flexibility. We have a lot of different types of logic. Like I said, we can do subflows. We even have something called dynamic flows, where you can create several flows with different names, and depending upon what the name is or what a condition is, you're calling a specific flow from it. And it's all designed to be so that way you have a lot of flexibility, but keeping the workflow very simple. It's something that we've been really maturing over the past few years with this engine, and it just keeps getting better and better. But the other part about it with the no low code aspect is the fact that, hey, I'm building this workflow. What about testing? And hopefully you've already seen the fact that, hey, we have a test button here. So I can go ahead and say test now. Reality, if I do test, I'm actually going to have a problem because I don't have any demo data. So I do have to probably create a demo record real quick just to test this out. And I'm trying to remember, I think I have Fred Luddy on there. And he's going to have a particular location, United States. There we go. Now I got at least some kind of demo data there, right? And now I can go ahead and run that test. One of the things I love about this is the fact I can run tests against multiple demo data. And when I run that test, I see exactly what happens in that whole flow. And so I know exactly through the logic how it evaluates. I order food, I call it a REST API. I see that something did get sent from that REST API. I got data back from it. And so I may be a person who does no low code, and maybe I just care about that this completed, or maybe I'm a pro coder and I want to be able to see that says, hey, I want to see the details of that REST API and what came back and how the message was. I've got all visibility into that. And it's all about giving the tools available as we're building these applications, so that way we can make it robust. We can test out all the various use cases for the workflow and giving all the tools to people right at their fingertips. Once again, without having to install like Visual Studio or any IDE, and being able to make it as quick and easy as possible to build these applications. Once again, I haven't typed any code yet, so I know this logic is set and it's going to work. So I have the confidence that I can actually just activate this and it's going to work. But what about the cases where we need to extend this and we need to take these actions here and we need to build some of them out? And so that order food API was one that I created custom. And so we've got the ability in our flow designer here to say, you know what, I want to create a new custom action. I want to be able to have something where I need to do some extra steps. And so this is where it comes in to be reusable, because if you have a series of steps that are taking place over and over and over again, it makes sense to create it as a subflow or as one of these actions here. So that way people can use it in all of their flows. And the idea with it is think of it as a subroutine or a method in JavaScript, You've got your inputs that you're going to create. And this can be anything from a string. It could be pointing to a specific record in ServiceNow. A lot of flexibility in how we do that. And then we can go ahead and now add in some of these base steps of what we want to do for this. And this is now like that pro code part of the platform. Or I want to say kind of like low to pro piece of it, because we can execute a script on the server side piece of it. And by the way, the server side scripting of ServiceNow is in JavaScript. A lot of developers already know JavaScript, so it's natural for them to start to build in the ServiceNow world. They just have to learn all of the methods and objects that we have provided in the platform. But that being said, it makes things easy. And maybe those are things where I want to first wait for a condition. I want to go ahead and script something. Maybe I want to send a push notification, or maybe it's a case where I'm calling a REST API, or I'm calling a JDBC. I'm calling a database and pulling some data back. Or maybe I'm pushing data to a database. With JDBC, we can run SQL commands, which is very powerful. We can interact with SQL and SSH and PowerShell as well. So it's not just to basic workflow of various personas that need to do tasks. It also includes anything that's automated. The other powerful thing about this is I can create a flow that has manual tasks. And if I identify a step that can be automated, I can just go to that same flow, kick out the manual piece, put in this automated piece that I built, and republish it. And now that automation is going to kick off for that workflow, saving more time. And once again, we're saving time, building this quickly, and getting it out here. But like I said before, we make this easy, or maybe I'm going to just log a message. And I have access to all my inputs with it. So input, there we go, save. As before with flows, I can test it. I'm a fan of Ron Burgundy, so I love LAMP. I'm just one of those people. And I can see what happens with it as well. And now I have a reusable component that I can then publish. It now goes in my application, and it's now something I can use here. So reusable components, no low code, access to coding pieces if needed. A lot of flexibility. In fact, so much flexibility that sometimes, there can be multiple ways to build a solution. The great thing is it's taking that question of can you do it to should you do it and what's the best way to do it. That's a far easier conversation than just trying to figure out how do we do this thing. So there's a lot of flexibility in that. But we've got a very powerful workflow engine. We talked about being able to have our data here and various pieces. What about if we want to start to now offer this service into something available for people to call? And so, for example, one of the parts of the ServiceNow platform that we have is called Service Portal. Service Portal is, I want to say, the name of a technology is kind of a little misleading. Yes, it's designed to be the place for people to use a portal to access for maybe requesting things or doing things. However, it's also a web framework. This portal is designed to have widgets. And by the way, every instance can have multiple portals. So you could have a custom application that is using this just for this application, or you can have a portal where there's multiple applications together. And same thing, there can be roles who access it. There can be knowledge that's related to it. There's just a lot of flexibility of what you can do. But more importantly, this portal itself is designed to be where I can say, hey, you know what? I want to edit this page. And so we've got widgets that are as simple as drag and drop. Here we go, Page Designer, where I can take a block of code essentially that does something and just drag and drop it over into my page. Or more importantly, if I'm a pro coder, so we have a low code piece of it where I can drag things in and change configurations for what the page is going to look like. Or if I'm a pro coder, I can go to one of these widgets and modify the widget as well. And I get access to the server-side coding, the client scripting, the HTML, and I can build reusable web components. It's using AngularJS, JavaScript, and HTML5 and Bootstrap for my web page as well. So I can create a custom web page that looks nothing like ServiceNow, but something that fixes and meets the needs of the experience. The other thing to point out is this is all responsive. I can build once and it looks good for mobile. for a mobile browser, phone browser, tablet, or through a desktop as well. So I'm not having to build multiple experiences. Yes, we have a native application, but that experience is a little bit different where we're focusing on specific mobile use cases or what we call micro moments versus we just want to deploy a web app and people can use it in different formats. But the other question comes to, well, how do we take this application that we've been building and get it into this portal? And the great thing about that is the fact that, hey, you know what? I've got my table here of data, and I can say, you know what? Let me add this to a service catalog. And so very simple where I can say, where this is going to go. So we can have multiple catalogs, we can have multiple categories. And I can say, you know what, this is going to go under, where was it? I thought it was, can we help you? There we go. And I'm going to choose what I want this to be into. So I'm going to say, let's say, who is it going to be? And maybe we'll do their, I think, housing type. And we're going to assume we're pulling their location from another system. So just like how we have a form that's going to look a certain way when somebody's going through and doing work, we also want to have a form to collect data, but we don't always want to ask for all the data. We want to give a different experience. And so we can go through and say, you know what, I just want these two pieces of information to begin with. And now I've got this. It's now within the service catalog. And so now whenever I'll go to request something and say, hey, can we help you? Let me see here. We should have, here we go, the welcome home request. So we already have this now in the system. More importantly, it is within the mobile as well. So we have a couple different mobile apps depending upon the experience. In this case, this is what I call our Now application, which is for requesters. And in it, if I do a search, let me see, I'll put in for welcome. There we go, welcome home request. And it's rendered mobile, and it's easy to go through and select. Maybe they're going to be in an apartment and submit. And so now this is available for the personnel, be it if they're in a desktop environment using our native mobile application. And it's very quick and easy to build all this. And once again, that's the speed of the agility. I have the security. I even have my REST API built. In fact, I can go to my table right here and say, you know what? I want to go ahead and explore the REST API. So if you're someone who's having to build integrations, we have the ability to say, you know what? What's your API going to look like? What's the query going to be? And let's go ahead and test it out. And now you've got this API that's all put together, and you've got some examples. What's it going to look like in Python or Ruby or JavaScript or PowerShell? So now we're even trying to speed up the time it takes to build integrations, not from ServiceNow into something else, but into those other technologies into ServiceNow. I'll be honest, I have yet to find any platform or what development or any environment that makes it as easy to build integrations as we do with ServiceNow. Majority of the time when I'm integrating with another technology, I'm spending so much time just trying to figure out the API. Here, we give you exactly what you need. So that way, we can now take advantage of those integrations, the data, and be able to build this quickly. So we talked about being able to do the data, what we can do for workflow, the service portal, which is powerful from the aspect of you can design quick pages, you can quickly design pages for an application. You can even get into coding to make widgets that are very creative and do wild things. I think I built like a trivia app. Think of bar trivia where the question's on the screen and then you do ABC. I built one of those with it before. Very, very fun to do. So there's no limitation. Now we've got our data, but more importantly, what about if we're collecting all this data in the process workflow? What about reports? And this is a key area that a lot of customers and people in various agencies and bureaus get into where they've got all this great data, but now they want to take advantage of reports and dashboards. And we have that as well. I can go through and say, you know what, I want to create my new report. My report name is going to be welcome home by, I can say location, maybe. This is going to be a table. And I mentioned before that we have a task table that has everything in the environment. And so I can go ahead and create a report that is going against everything that I have out there, but then I can go ahead and filter it to say, you know what, I only want to filter for things that are welcome homes. So I think I have this right here. There we go. So I'm starting off my report. I'm doing this because what I can select next is what type of report do I want? And I can go through and say, well, you know what? I want to do a map type of report. Great, maps are awesome. They're very visual. In fact, I'll save this first to make sure it's saved. And now what I'm going to do, I'm going to do an aggregation. I'm going to map my task by location, and I can start by the world, or I can start at the, actually, I'll just start at the world piece so we can start in the beginning. And now I've got my report laid out. And of course, I've only got one request. And I've got everything shown in terms of, oh, here we go, all the different data available that's accessible. I've got access to my report here. And now I can go through and save it. More importantly, I can share it if I want. I can share it to multiple people. Maybe groups, everyone. So, you know, one thing about ServiceNow is as you're putting all these workflows into ServiceNow, various people can share various parts of an application. Maybe it's just a report. Maybe it's a dashboard. Maybe it's, maybe it's just being able to get into and request things for an application. So there's a lot of different things that we can do. I can save this, or I can go ahead and add this to my dashboard. I don't have any dashboards available. Okay, well, that's okay. With the dashboards themselves, if I go ahead and take a look at a dashboard, I can go through and say, you know what, I want to add content to this dashboard. This content could be a report or something that I'm adding. It could be a report that I've already have. In this case, because I haven't created a dashboard yet for this app, I'm a little limited because I don't have a dashboard within that thing that I call the application scope, but I can add it right in there and get visibility into it. And so when I log into the system, great, there's my dashboard. Incidentally, it's the same thing with our service portal that we have available. We have a dashboard widget or a report widget. So maybe I want to put this directly into my service portal for people to see. Regardless, the best thing about it is I now have a report where I can see data. And I can create multiple reports as well. So I can do basic list types of reports. It's all housed on ServiceNow. So that way I don't have to worry about, exporting the data or having to go ahead and, manage anything related to connecting integrations for reports. I can be very simple where I'm just going through and creating my report. It's against the live data, so I can see the data that is going to be in the environment at this time versus maybe a historical report. But the other important thing about it as well is the fact that I can also use some of ServiceNow's out-of-box additional machine learning capabilities. So if I want to do analytics, maybe looking at changes in time, I can take advantage of that when I get enough data. Or maybe I want to add some machine learning. So being able to prioritize or categorize based on various input strings. I've got access to that. I am not really limited in taking advantage of modern capabilities just because I'm building on ServiceNow. As a company, from what I understand, we're always evaluating what to put in. We're a very customer-driven company as well. So we're always getting feedback and trying to figure out, where should we take the platform next. All with the idea of, hey, I can put this application together. I can do it very quickly. And then more importantly, I've got access to everything I need here. From a developer standpoint, it's not just the studio that we have as well. We also have things like an automated testing framework. So think of Selenium, where you're running tests against applications. Well, ServiceNow has its own test as well. Oops, do we have it here? No, we have it within the main environment. So I can create a whole test case or multiple test cases that I have. So when we do upgrade, we can run those test cases automatically. And it's all about that ease of development. But not only that, making it easy to maintain and grow and add on top of it as well. And it's all about, once again, getting those apps out there, being used as quickly as possible, integrating, either using Integration Hub or connecting into ServiceNow, and taking advantage of these developer tools that are, primarily for the most part, no code, or the type of cases where maybe if you do need to code, it's only a small part of it. And once again, you've got a huge advantage in what you already have available. So that's, I think, everything that I've gotten through in terms of a demo. Are there any, I think at this point, I want to really take a chance to pause and ask, are there any questions?
I'll make a comment before we get into questions. First of all, Mike, you did a fantastic job. Thank you for that demonstration. But when I think about the Army, and I think about readiness specifically, but anything with related to people and the organizations that we support, everything from the day that you recruit, the day that you press the button that you're interested in recruiting, all the way through the retirement, is all a workflow and a process. And those workflows and processes are all part of the quality of life and the work that people get to do within the Army. And that starts the day you say you're interested, the day you go to MEPS, the day you report to basic training, the day you go to your first duty assignment, the day you go do your first PCS move. All of those milestones are all workflows and processes that improve quality of life for our soldiers. And I think we do a really nice job of integrating within the Army ecosystem of technologies through our Integration Hub and some other places that really differentiates us from our competitors. And it's critically important to think about that. So, Mike, I think you did a great job of demonstrating that. I appreciate that. And with that, does anybody have any questions, comments, concerns? And where should we go? I guess is the first question. Where would we go if we are interested? And second, who has a specific question for us? Anyone?
I think someone raised their hand.
How do I see that?
I see Anthony does.
Yes. Hi. Yes. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, this was a great demo. Thank you for this. I did have a quick question I was curious about. I'm a product owner for a product. It's pretty much my first experience with ServiceNow, and I'm completely blown away with the capabilities of the platform.
Yep.
But in our product that we're developing, we did sort of immediately discover that we needed to give, we developed everything in the native UI, and our users aren't, the users for this product at least, are not tech savvy users. They're just regular, employees in our organization. And we immediately, or at least I did, coming from a custom development background, felt that we needed to produce something in the service portal to give them an experience closer to what they're already used to seeing. And from my perspective, it felt like I was already breaking some ServiceNow rules about, using the elements that are out of the box and developing things quickly. And I felt like I was immediately doing something wrong, thinking that we needed to develop something in the service portal. So I still feel like that's the right direction to head in, but I was wondering if there was any tools or any guides or anything like that would expedite service portal development. And I'm already looking into this, but I just wanted to hear what you had to say about that. Any tools or guidelines or any of that kind of stuff?
Yeah, so one of the best places to check is developer.servicenow.com. There's a lot of content we have out there about the development, and I think we have a developer best practices. The one thing to keep in mind about Service Portal, and I know there's this idea of, hey, don't customize or customize as little as possible, but Service Portal is that blank canvas of the platform that's actually designed to be quote unquote customized, because it's really a web development framework. And so while we have a lot of out-of-box widgets, for example, you'll notice you can never change an out-of-box widget. You can only copy it and then change its function, because we may change an out-of-box capability, but we don't want to touch your changes. And we have a lot of customers and partners who will build all custom widgets in the portal, and there's no problem with it. These widgets themselves, because these are all kind of self-contained in the code, it means that as long as you're staying within all of the DOM elements and all of the, typically the things you don't do in ServiceNow, but in the widgets, if you're accessing like DOM manipulation or calling JavaScript or whatever, if you're all doing it within the widget itself, it's fine. If you look through our out-of-box widgets, we do the same thing. So your definitely don't feel uncomfortable going to the service portal. That's what it's designed for. Great. There's also our solution innovation team that I came from also has a site where we've got a lot of out-of-box examples and of widgets and things that we've built for customers, and we just kind of make it out there. And then also there's a lot of stuff out on our share site, which is more of a community project as well. But yeah, the service portal is that canvas, go build stuff.
Yeah, and Michael, that's exactly right. And I would like to just add on to that and say, in my experience, if it's something, government or military personnel are using every day, my experience is they kind of get used to it and they end up really liking it. But if it's something they use like once a year, I can use an example from the civilian side where, if you're a government employee, federal employee, and you want to be a real estate agent on the side, you have to fill out a form, and then once a year to get approval, and then once a year to report how much money you made on your side job. And that is something we were like, yep, we'll build that in Service Portal. It's a once a year thing. Lots of employees don't want to, let's make it easy for them, like TurboTax like experience. But if it's an everyday thing, we find that people really do adjust pretty well to it.
Great, thank you.
Yep. So any other questions? Good question too. Service Portal, yeah, it's a good one. Like I said, that's why I hate that it's called Service Portal, because you can really design almost any web page with it.
Yeah, and Dan made a point in the comments about how we complement the systems the Army's already invested in. I know one of the challenges the Army has is to, provide cross-functional workflows. Could you talk about Integration Hub and how that kind of helps with that?
Yeah, Integration Hub is one of the newer capabilities we've had in the past couple of years, and it really came from when we had a direction switch. Let me bring up this slide because it's a great slide of trying to picture how we fit into it. And the idea with Integration Hub is, as Casey was saying, we have the spokes that can hook into several technologies, and we're the central point to it where we're managing workflow. So maybe we're pulling data out in from a system, maybe pushing data out to a system. I've talked about application scopes, how it's kind of like a sandbox, set of files for an application. All the spokes themselves are scoped as well. So when we release new scopes, we do it out of the regular release cycle every, twice a year. So we're constantly creating new scopes, new application, new integrations. This is just meant to be an example, so we don't have integrations with everything shown here. But honestly, we have a lot already. But we even have our own product managers for various scopes, including what customers are being able to suggest for different integrations. And once again, the idea with it is, there's a enterprise type of workflow that is having to span multiple technologies. Our goal is to be able to enable without really having a lot of overhead or development of those workflows. So Integration Hub is a key part to it, to go ahead and build in those technologies. Instead, we're releasing new spokes constantly, but then also customers have the ability to create their own spokes. And going through and building some custom integrations with various REST APIs, or even taking what's already there out of the box and copying it and then making some changes to it. It's really fast to go ahead and build out the custom integrations, for Integration Hub. And like you saw from the workflow, it's as simple as saying, okay, here's what I want to do, and here's my data to it. The idea with Integration Hub is you have skilled developers and integration experts that are building the spokes, and then you've got the more along the lines of the process or workflow SMEs, business analysts or the business relationship managers, who can then take those workflows and take those integrations and reuse them over and over again in workflows. So, yeah, good thing to bring up. Integration Hub has been a really great product, and it's been maturing very quickly.
Yeah, and the way I was thinking about it is, you could have a workflow that would start with pulling data from IPSE to pull a personnel record that might lead to a workflow out of one of the other ERPs, who knows, or one of the other systems of record. And managing that through ServiceNow would be a possible option.
Yeah, and even before that, I mean, the dialogue is there's the workflow component of the low-code platform and our ability to integrate within the Army environment, and then out to other organizations within the Department of Defense, I think is the story because of our ability to integrate across enterprise. Mike, if you can comment to that, I think that's really, really important because the fundamental shift that the Army is going in right now, and through the people strategy, people bucket, and the readiness bucket, is really about how you integrate into a broader environments in a modern way.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that as a company we've grown and we kind of knew from day one of the power of integration, including a lot of legacy systems. That's why we have a lot of different ways to integrate. For the most part, we know that a customer is not going to take ServiceNow and replace everything with it. We're going to augment a lot of already existing ERP systems, for example. And so we look at it and say, you know what, let's have that integration, have ServiceNow handle the parts of the workflow or experience that makes sense and brings value to everybody. But then, keep your single source of truth where it belongs and just let ServiceNow integrate with it and pull and push data as needed. And it's giving that flexibility to customers to go ahead and build out solutions without a lot of the overhead that would go in replacing like an entire ERP environment or some huge legacy database.
Or the political ramifications of trying to do so.
Yeah, exactly. Or the political ramifications.
Anyway.
And I'd like to point out one more thing. We didn't really focus on security so much because we wanted to show you how to build apps. But one of the things that I think is really important, and it is a differentiator for ServiceNow, is the apps that you build have a kind of probably different kind of security than you're used to, right? So normally on any platform, you have a system administrator, and that system admin gets to see everything. And ServiceNow is really not that way, right? You can have an app and you can have an individual application administrator, and the ServiceNow admin won't even know that app exists. They won't be able to add themselves to the group or the role, which is really important. So, for example, at Department of Homeland Security, they developed a ServiceNow app for whistleblowers. Well, you definitely don't want somebody to be able to add themselves to an app to see whistleblowers, for an investigation, for example. And that I've never really seen that ability on any other platform. And when I talk, especially to CISOs and ISOs, they're like, oh man, that is awesome. And it's really a great kind of hidden feature of App Engine.
Yep, application administration. It is, I've worked with it a few times in some use cases, but you're spot on. Making sure that an app and its data is truly secure in the environment.
Great. We've got 5 minutes left of the time. Does anybody have an additional question outside of the ServiceNow team? We enjoy this dialogue, and we have it very often internally. So we welcome your any question you might have. All right. I guess with that, again, I guess the final parting message. Mike, Jack, and Casey and I thank you all for being here. The mission is reducing the amount of work that people have to do so they can focus on doing the mission. And I think we're uniquely positioned to be able to help you build applications faster, to be able to give soldiers and civilians a better work experience so they can now go actually do the mission of winning decisive operations or getting to places that they need to be with a better family experience for their people. That all revolves around deploying software quickly. So with that, I want to thank you all for being here. Again, if you have any questions or if you have any follow-up that you haven't gotten to already, send it to armyteam@servicenow.com. We put it in the chat here. Or if you want any of the reference guys or anything else, send it there and we'll go from there. But again, thank you. We appreciate it. We'll talk soon.
All right.